think I got this going. Yep, sure do. Let me make sure sound is working. We got sound. Yep, got some sound. All right. Hey everybody, this is Zach with IT Career Questions, and today this is basically a quick talk because I am trying to get things set up for the Active Directory structure discussion that I'd like to have. Talked about this before many times. I've set up basically Active Directory on virtual machines many times before, and I want to get to a point where I have the proper setup where I can really lay out the structure of Active Directory, talk about it, explain it to you guys, and then kind of field questions about it a little bit. So I finally got this tablet, so a little tablet here. So the point of having like the tablet is so that basically what I can do is, and here we go, is and I'm not going to be very good at this right now. Yeah, see, I'm not very good at it right now. I'm actually really terrible at it, but is right on screen. But yeah, you kind of get the gist of it. Hopefully that kind of will show through. Probably actually didn't show through because I actually have to configure that portion of it. But that is kind of what I'm working with. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Actually, here, this is what I should do. This is what I need to do. Let me change this. I'll fix it right now. See, this is why I'm doing this little test. I know, this is why I'm doing the test. I'll fix it right now. So we'll do a display capture. Yeah, we'll say okay, and then we'll say, here we go. Now I think if I do this, now I think if I write, maybe that'll work. That should probably work. Yep, that works. So, yeah, the whole purpose of that is just so I can kind of write on the screen a little bit, and then, definitely kind of go over, basically, again, the structure of Active Directory, what that looks like in a business environment, why it's important to have structure in a business environment, and then of course every single business environment that you go into, their Active Directory structure is going to be completely different. So whatever I show you guys in this video, that obviously may not necessarily be the same thing that you are going to run into in the first environment that you get into. If you are currently working in IT, that might not be the same structure that you see in the environment that you're working at right now. So just you have to keep that in mind. And, that's very important. That's something that I've always stressed in so many of my videos. And one of the biggest important things is, every single IT environment that you go into is so completely different from one another, because people love to, structure their environments differently from one another. Whoever that system admin is that, first set something up, has something set in their mind on how they want to do things, and that's just the way that they do it. So I'll kind of go through on the way that I would structure, basically Active Directory if I was going to set up a business for the first time. And let's see, all of these icons in the background right now are driving me absolutely bonkers. So I need to move these right now. This is kind of like my test laptop. Like, it's just like a totally, like, pretty much POS laptop. This is like all the stuff that I just threw on there for the heck of it through Ninite. I was screwing around with it. So, there's a simple cleanup. That looks, oh man, that looks way prettier, right? So much better. Whew. So, hello everybody, if I didn't say hello yet. Let me change the color of this too, because I didn't like the color of the yellow. Just go with a red. And go back to that real quick. Back to kind of what I was saying. We'll go into Active Directory here real quick. This is basically Active Directory right here set up on a Windows 2016 box. Or Windows Server 2016. It's installed on VirtualBox. Done the video on installing server on VirtualBox like, I don't know, 1,000 times it feels like. I have done that like on a live stream like 8 times, I seriously feel like. So you guys can definitely like go back in the archive and like check those videos out. Gone through pretty much like step by step. Installing VirtualBox, downloading the Windows 2016 like evaluation copy for the server edition, installing Server 2016, setting up Server 2016 as a domain controller, installing the Active Directory role, and then this is kind of where we're at right now. And where do we go with this? You know, what's the next step? You know, what are we going to do now with our business environment? So now that I kind of have my setup, you know, I'm kind of ready to do that. I'm kind of ready to make those next steps and making a video. So I don't know if, you know, trying to do like a live video on that is going to be best. I don't know if everybody's going to want to see that, or actually trying to produce something is going to be best. You know, obviously I'd really love to do a live video, but it's kind of hard to do a live video on stuff like that if people want to be involved, only because I don't know everybody's schedule, and my schedule is absolutely crazy. But doing a live video like this, it probably wouldn't take me as long as trying to produce something, because, you know, I'll probably screw up during a live video and say something that I don't want to say during a live video, and that'd be okay, because then I don't have to go back and edit it. I'll just say, ah, crap, I didn't mean to say that, or whatever. So that might be okay too. But we can talk here real quick about Active Directory and what's over here. So I don't think this little program has anything crazy to make my mouse pointer bigger, unfortunately. And I'm pretty sure you guys can all see my mouse pointer. So in Active Directory, as soon as you open up Active Directory users and computers, which is something, as soon as you get into a help desk role, like one of the very first positions everybody will almost always get into when they're getting into IT. It's like help desk, some type of level 1 position. Active Directory users and computers is going to be like your like number 1 application that you will probably always get into, you know. And that's only because you will always be resetting somebody's password. And Active Directory, that's where you're going to do it from. You know, Active Directory holds all of your users. It holds all of your computers. So that tool right there, Active Directory users and computers, is something that you'll definitely want to get used to. It's something that you'll definitely want to get accustomed to for sure. You know, if you don't know anything about it, now's your time to really learn. If it's not watching my video here or any of my videos, go on YouTube and learn more about it, because it's honestly one of the biggest tools that they'll need to learn getting into a help desk role, or just getting your foot wet in the door in IT. So anyway, all this stuff right here that you very first see, and this is I'll start from the top. Warcraft, we'll start Active Directory users and computers. That's the very first thing that you see. Saved queries. That's just kind of a standard folder that you will always see there, no matter what. Warcraft.local is the domain name. That's your domain. You're going to see that in whatever business environment that you're in. So if you are working for, let's say, I always go to this one, like a t-shirt printing establishment, let's say it's called like Bees Tees, right? Whatever. It's just called Bees Tees. It might say like beestees.com, and say you're working for Coca-Cola, it might say coca-cola.com, that might be your domain. So whatever your domain is that you're under, whatever your business is, that's what that is going to say right there. Instead of warcraft.local, it's going to say your domain, whatever that might be. It could be many other things, anything under the sun, basically. And then under that domain, under my domain, warcraft.local is what I named my domain. You have built-in, that's just a standard folder that's going to have your standard basically security groups and things like that. And this is something that we can go over in time. This isn't something that we're going to go over in this video necessarily. This is just something that is, basically very standard. That's every single Active Directory that you get into. This is going to be a standard folder that's there. It's going to have all of these standard names, security groups, descriptions, just like this. It's going to have all that. So it's not going to be anything that's going to like catch you by surprise. The next thing is going to be computers. Now you would think, okay, computers. Now, some business environments, okay, they'll throw their computers in there. And that's literally going to be the physical computer. And it'll have a physical computer name. Say you name that computer CPU 102, right? That's the computer. And it's on the 100th floor of the building, and it's the second computer on that floor. And that's just for instance, right? And there's all these weird naming schemes that you guys are going to have to get used to if you're working in a proper business environment. And I say proper because some places don't really have a good naming scheme for computers, and that kind of stuff drives me absolutely insane. They just have like a random string of numbers and text and things like that, and it just, oh god, it drives me bonkers. Like, that doesn't help you out any. For instance, like the hospital that I work at, we use like three letters that signify basically where in what location, whether it be the hospital or one of like the clinics this computer's at. So I'm not going to like give you guys names because I don't want to give too much details out. But basically it's like a 3-letter annotation and says, okay, like this computer is in the hospital, for instance, right? So let's say that computer name starts with, and let's do it over here. Let's just throw it in Active Directory right now. Let's just say we did a new computer. And this isn't at all like how you would do things. So I'm not even going to do it that way because I don't want to throw you guys off. I'll write it out. I don't want to give you guys like a bad idea of how things should go. So let's just say like a naming scheme for a computer is let's see, can't see where my mouse is. Oop, there we go. Let's say, oh, come on. There we go. Oh my gosh, I can't write with this thing at all. Not very good at it. HSP. So, computers in the hospital. So it starts with HSP for hospital, right? Now, the hospital has, many different areas in it, right? The hospital has, like 5 floors to it. It has, like a cafeteria. It has, like a materials management area in it. and all these different areas, right? So you could say like it's HSP. Why don't we just say like IT? You know, there's an IT department in the hospital, so you do HSP. Man, my handwriting's terrible on this. I have to get used to it. IT, and then you say like 0, 1. That's like the name of the computer, right? HSP IT 0 to 1. So if you were to go into a business environment, you look at a computer name, you know that computer's in the hospital in IT, and it's computer number 1. And the same could be said like, okay, you're, gosh, this is really hard to get used to. Let's try it like this. There you go. HSP, and we'll say like FL 3 12, right? We could look at that and we could say, all right, the computer's in the hospital on floor 3 and it's computer number 12. These are just kind of different naming conventions and things like that you guys might run across in a business environment, right? Again, just an example. This could be completely different. Some business environments just might have something like PC 1, 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? That could be their PC name. And you have no idea where that's at unless you look it up in like their ticketing system, in some kind of spreadsheet, and it's absolutely asinine. You know, that there's lots of environments that do, you know, their computer names like that. So there's that, right? But anyway, back to Active Directory. Some environments will put their computers in computers. Some don't. A lot of people don't. A lot of people won't even touch the computers area. Domain controllers, that is pretty self-explanatory. Like, for instance, we would put domain controllers in domain controllers. I would put a domain controller in there. I would say, hey, if I had a few domain controllers, I'd put more domain controllers in there. And as you can see, this computer is a domain controller. So it is in the domain controllers OU. And I should have started with this kind of too. These folders are all called OUs, which is an organizational unit. That's something you should definitely remember. OU, organizational unit. And that's basically how Active Directory kind of structures, you know, their folders. That's kind of what they call their folders, for instance, in Active Directory. So if under domain controllers, if I wanted to create a new folder, I would create a new OU, which is an organizational unit. But we'll get into more detail on that like further, because there's so much detail to get into with Active Directory. So I don't want to like overload you guys with tons and tons of information and just, you know, be all over the place, but I'll give you little bits and pieces here and there. Foreign security principles, that's something that's always there. Every single Active Directory that you get into, that's something that's always there. We won't get into that right now. Managed service accounts, that is something that that's always there. Also, production is an OU that I created in this Active Directory. That's an OU that I created. Production is a custom OU. So production would be, and that could be something different for any environment. You know, they could, you can go to a business environment and they might have their own custom named OU. Instead of production, they could call it live. You know, it might just be called live. And under live, they might have a plethora of OUs. So a plethora of different folders. And those different folders under production or under live might have all of the different areas. And, you know, I just talked about IT, for instance, right? And I talked about the third floor. of the hospital. So under production, they might have like an OU. Let's just do this real quick. We're going to create an organizational unit, and we're just going to call it. I'm going to delete this later, so it's fine. We're going to call it hospital. And under hospital, I'm going to have to make this bigger. It's all right. Under hospital, we're going to create another OU. So under hospital, we're going to have first floor. And then under hospital, create another OU. We'll call that second floor. And, this takes forever. I'm using the stupid mouse touchpad thing on this laptop. It's driving me absolutely bonkers. I'm gonna have to get a mouse for this stupid thing out here. But anyway, here's third floor. And then under hospital, we'll create the last OU that we talked about, which is new. And we're going to make it proper. Instead of IT, we're going to call it information technology. So that's kind of how a structure might look for Active Directory in a business environment. You're going to have your main production OU. Under that main production OU, you might have, many different OUs, organizational units or folders. Just keep that in mind. The folders are called OUs. You'll always want to remember that the folders are called OUs. And what's really, really important about how these folders are structured and why there are different OUs, why there are multiple OUs, and why you don't just take and throw, all of your computers into one OU and all of your users into one OU, is because eventually we'll get into group policy. And group policy gets really, really fun with how your Active Directory is structured, with the way that you can apply different group policies to the way that you structure your AD and things like that. So it's really, really important. And not only that, as far as like group policy is concerned, it's just the way that you structure your Active Directory, it'll just be a lot more organized. So again, we'll go into great detail on this. I'll actually put computers in to these OUs. I'll get a couple different VMs built that are just computers, so we can throw them into this Active Directory, and then I'll get some users made, so that way you can kind of see like what a structure would look like. The other thing about OUs and the way that they're structured is, again, this kind of ties into group policy also, is like printers. And I hate printing, so I don't want to go on a whole tirade with that. But, you might have like 7 printers on the first floor, and you might have like 2 printers on the second floor. So you kind of structure things out that way with users and computers and things like that. And it's just a way to manage things. Active Directory is a management tool for users and computers. That's kind of how you have to look at it. Real quick, we could do this. We can make a user real quick. And this is something that, again, if you are just getting into IT, you might have to make users all the time. Like when I first got into IT, that's all I did was make new users. And when I started new jobs, like anytime I started a new job and like I was the low man on the totem pole, like they were like, hey new guy, guess who's making accounts? And I'd be like, oh God, all right, I'll make all your accounts, because it's just it's grunt work basically to make new accounts. But anyway, inside of any OU, You can right click and you do new, and then you say user. Oh, sorry. And then, let's see. I'll take somebody from chat. Let's take Rachel Williams. Rachel Williams. And for logon, again, the logon name is going to be different every single environment that you go into. The most common logon credentials that you will probably see is first initial, last name. That's the most common that you would probably see. So like R. Williams would be their login name. So when they go to a computer and they're prompted with the login screen, they would have R. Williams as their username, and then their email address would be R. Williams. That's often the case. A lot of times, companies will use like Rachel.Williams, and that's going to be the case where then their email address will be like Rachel.Williams@whateverdomain.com. Some companies like to use, Williams.R or Williams.R. It really depends on that company. That leads me back to, again, every single organization, every single business is completely different. So depending on that, it's going to vary. What's up? Leaving right now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right. So this was supposed to be a quick talk. So that was my quick talk. I was just told I have to leave. So I knew at some point I'd have to go, but I thought I'd have a little bit more time of a warning. So I apologize that I have to literally cut it pretty short. So I will, now that I have kind of my structure here laid out on exactly how I want to do this, and I will work really, really hard on getting this tablet to work properly, like how I want it to. I'll make it look nice and pretty, and we'll figure out a time that we can make this look good, and then we'll like really get into detail on Active Directory, talk more about users and groups and group memberships and all that fun stuff. Active Directory is literally, quite honestly, one of the most fun things that I get into at work, just because it's such a vast tool and there's so much control there. There's literally so much that you can do with it, and like customize with it. I love it. I honestly love it. Even creating the new accounts, like I'll do it. I don't really care. It's fine. But there's just so much to it. And then once you get into group policy and things like that, it just makes things like, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. Like that's like one part of our IT. Like if you ever want to be a system administrator, like there's a part of IT that you will like absolutely love. It's fun. Active Directory, group policy, learning that stuff is just a blast. So that's all I got for you guys tonight. I hope you guys kind of appreciated and understood kind of what I was going with tonight. But we will do this again because, like I said, now that I have my structure kind of laid out here, we'll be good to go. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great night. It's, Thursday? I think it's Thursday. So have a good Thursday. If I don't talk to you guys, soon, have a good Friday, have a good weekend, and take it easy.